it's definitely on top of my list too. A striker is needed. I know under McKenna, the striker isn't the main man scoring the goals, but for me, if Hurst is, this we don't know how serious it is at the moment. Because straight after the game you ask McKenna, but you can't really assess him straight away until hopefully it's nothing too serious. It's just precaution. But I can imagine for you, it's top of your Christmas list for January.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a split feeling on whether Ipswich need a striker for a little while now because, in Hurst and Azon, they've got two strikers there. Akpom, it's not looking like the minutes in the number 10 role that he was brought in for are necessarily going to be there. So he's another option at 9, which is what a lot of people want to see. Do you need to be adding? Are you giving yourself an unnecessary headache adding another striker on top of those 3 options? That was my fear. In some ways, Ipswich don't want Hurst to be injured, but it makes that decision, if it is something more than short term, kind of makes that decision a bit easier for Kieran McKenna, doesn't it? If he'd been umming and ahhing thinking, have I quite got enough in the striker department for us to really get over the line? If you take one out of the equation, that kind of makes your mind up to go and do it. Look, wanting a striker and being able to get one of the required standard are two very different things. I'm sure everybody is looking for one at this stage. The finances are there. We've heard that from the owners, from Mark Ashton. I guess we just have to wait and see what the outcome is on this Hurst injury. But the season hasn't gone as he'd hoped or expected after being given the number 9 shirt, as we know. As you say, never fault his work ethic, but he's left a hell of a lot of goals out there, hasn't he, so far? 2 to his name so far. This is another game where he has a couple of good headed chances, close range shots saved, great save by the goalkeeper's legs at the end. But is he going to be the prolific sort of hang your hat on starting striker? I don't know. It sounds like you're in the get a striker camp, Ross. And anyone sort of catching your fancy?
As you said, January is probably the worst window to try to sign a striker because I'm sure there is a lot of clubs out there needing a striker. The last few years, I swear it's happening every time under Kieran McKenna. Like everyone's screaming for a new striker because I know one of our strikers not scoring the goals or whatever. Last time in the Championship we went for Kiefer Moore, which at the time we're like, okay, of course he had a bad spell previously, but that was lucky, really, wasn't it? Because he wasn't playing at Bournemouth, and we got him. So I don't know. Maybe we just need a Kiefer Moore-esque player who's not really playing. I can't think of anybody on top of my head right now. This is AJ's wheelhouse. He's the one who's got the list.
The one that springs to my mind, and Mark Ashton has spoken at the PLC AGM about wanting to recruit from higher divisions plural there, which suggests that Europe is now a market Ipswich are starting to look at now with they've bolstered the recruitment department with new staff. Forgive me, I can't remember the name of the chap who's coming from Manchester United who's now involved, but the data side of things now with the ownership group having diversified, there's maybe some more access to some data systems as well, which might help. But I'll park the European side of it because that's not something that I'm particularly knowledgeable on. And if it's terms of a Kiefer Moore not quite playing for Premier League sides at the moment, Willis Sula, I don't quite know what his situation is at the moment, but he scored that fantastic header, if you remember, for Newcastle against Ipswich last season. Ipswich, I think, were keen last summer, but they made clear that he wasn't going out on loan. There was all the Isaac stuff up in the air. I know AJ shares this opinion. He'd be one, would be quite an ambitious target, I think, for Ipswich. But you're right, going back to previous Januaries, Hurst came in on loan, didn't he, initially in the League One season to kind of get himself ahead of Freddie Ladapo at that stage. And then it was Boxing Day, wasn't it, where Hurst limped off in the Championship season before Big Kiefer came in, and maybe it's looking like a starting striker might be required again.
Just having a quick look. Yeah, it's Mick Cork is the director of recruitment firm who's come in from Manchester United. Willis Sula hasn't played since November, and I think he's injured.
Okay.
So, Yeah, he has signed a new 5-year deal at Newcastle, but yeah, he got an ankle injury, so yeah, pick
That,
up
that
arm.
might that might kill that one then straight away. As I say, I know AJ's has got a notes section on his phone filled with various players that he think might fit the bill in different positions. So yeah, it's certainly looking like there's going to be movement in January. It's going to be fascinating as to what level and what areas that's in.